Amanda, how are you?
Oh, hi, Katie. I'm good. Good, thanks. How are you?
Good. So before we get started, I'll just introduce you to everybody. I've known you for a very long time, and I was thinking about it before we got on the call. I think it's been at least 20 years since you and I met.
Yeah, well, next year will be the anniversary of the start of that journey we took of synchronicity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
98 was
Exactly.
California.
Yep. So Amanda and I knew each other from back in our post high school days. It was soon after high school, I think. We had a similar group of friends, and then somehow our journeys have continued to intersect, and we met each other in America back in 1998, as you said. And then we've both been all around the world, and somehow our paths continue to cross, but it's always a pleasure to me that we managed to stay in contact. And just to let the other people know who are listening that Amanda is a very heart-centered, soulful warrior who has always wanted to make a positive difference in the world. And I think that's why you and I have always connected, because we have similar vision, similar values. And thank you for being my very first person on Conversations That Matter.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
So,
I love conversations with you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. And me too. And the purpose of these discussions is to help other women understand they're not alone in their struggles, and to be supportive and uplifting and empowering, and to have these conversations that matter, because I feel, and we were talking about this before, that maybe we don't talk about this stuff enough with each other, the truth behind the shiny photos, and on Facebook, how we tend to get caught up in that social media world where everything looks perfect, but how what are the struggles we're all dealing with behind the scenes. And I think we all share a lot of common threads in the struggles we deal with, and so talking about those and sharing them, I think, is very nourishing. And it is for me anyway, when I hear other people getting really vulnerable and genuine and talking about their truth. I always find that very healing for me personally. So if you're happy to start, how about, if you don't mind, Amanda, giving us a short summary of your journey so far and what you've had to go through to get to where you are today.
Well, I guess part of my journey has been not feeling like I was enough. I think that's something a lot of people relate to, and that stems to a lot of pain that I had in my younger years when my parents divorced, and the relationship with my dad had been quite hurtful because of his absence and his sort of disregard for being active in my life at all. Even though my mum would encourage it, he sort of disappeared. So that hole in my sense of self was a long time to be filled. And that led to a number of things, but I eventually started socializing in the wrong circles, and so my very high standards of schooling started dropping off. My interest in school dropped off, and things like experimenting with drugs and alcohol took hold of my teenage years. And then, whether it was part of the universal's plan or not, I had a very serious car accident where it was a wonder that I actually survived, and I made a full recovery from it. But the healing of my life has taken a long road. I went overseas as my journey started overseas the same time as yours did, and that was really a coming of age for me and a growing into myself, which was a long time coming. And it wasn't easy, but I persisted, and there was this sense of what's the word, like imposter syndrome, or being a fraud. I felt like a fraud because I was starting from the beginning and I was making my way, and I always had this shame hanging over me about wasting my talent in high school and blowing it all up against the wall, in my, outlets that weren't very healthy. And so then became a pattern of working really hard. So working and studying and, doing all the studying and working, which most other people did in their teenage years or their early 20s if they continued their education. But I stopped my education. So then I was trying to catch up. So I built this habit of working really hard. And I've always succeeded at what I've done. So I've been able to build my self-esteem that way. But in the same sense, I've also not really known what I'm doing. And I've done a lot of things. And I'm always feeling I've got so much more to do to be able to do things. So the habit of doing things really took hold. And as I was reflecting on this morning, it's almost as though doing so many things has become my habit as a way to cover up, the anxiety, the anxiousness that I feel. But also the doing lots of things is me trying to fit into the mold of having a career and being successful, and I've never felt like that's been enough, even though I have been successful in every approach that I've applied myself to. But as you've also experienced, when you're not in alignment, it affects your health. So sort of spiritual, energetic alignment comes out in the physical. So I've experienced that too. And through the car accident, because I was really off alignment, and whether that was, a big signpost to get back on the line, to, working and raising my first child and studying and having miscarriages, because I was trying to fit all of these elements into one part of my life at the same time. And it just doesn't work. It doesn't fit, trying to fit it all in together. So I've had to go through a process of letting go. And that's kind of a very uncomfortable feeling for me, because the doing is trying to prove myself, trying to build my self-worth from that big hole that I've got from, losing my father's relationship and love, to losing my self-esteem through my educational career, through, through those sort of pathways. I've needed to do so much, but I've always had this yearning, and I've always had this spiritual curiosity that started, when I was 15, 16. It started early on. I've always had this spiritual curiosity. And then my time in the UK, I became aware of a lot of the wellness and the holistic health industry, and I was always interested in that. And coming back to Australia, I had an idea, I had a business plan to open up a wellness centre, but never really having those skills. So it always sat on the back burner while I was busy doing all my other business career and being successful. But I've finally made the leap. I've had my second child, and that's been another turning point. While I'm still managing these influxes and rises of anxiety, I've made the leap into doing yoga teacher training, and as well as teaching, I'm furthering and going deeper inside in my own spiritual path and development. So letting go of all of that in my head has helped me, and the conversations I've had with you have helped me come back to my heart, following the heart, and then to do that is from you is fantastic.
Oh, and for those, so I remember you and I, we had a big aha moment when that TED talk was circulating about multi-potentialites. And how there was a girl who finally defined that term as someone who has so many interests that how do you possibly choose which one you focus your time and energy on? And I remember you and I saying, wow, that's you to a T, because you always had, ever since I've known you, you've always had so many interests, and not just interested in them, but proactively pursuing them. So you've always had that spiritual side to you, and you've always had that desire to do some kind of wellness retreat or wellness centre. But plus you've been incredibly active in the renewable energy field, and you were a very active member of Zen. What does that stand for again?
Zen, Sustainable Energy Now.
That's right. Yeah, and you were very, very active in that, writing master plans and business strategies and all that kind of stuff. So, and at the same time as having a full-time job in the Port Authority in Fremantle, and
yes, and building a house and getting married twice in 2 locations, you know.
Yeah. And then having a baby and doing it all over again, and then going through the same cycle when you, and I think for you, similar to me, when you were trying to fall pregnant with your second baby, that's when the health impacts were coming back to you to show you that, you know, your body is not in a position to be nurturing a new child when you're doing so much stuff, which is exactly how I was too, trying to do everything and be superwoman and do really good at everything. And because I know how passionate you are about sustainable, you know, renewable energy, and how hard it was for you to give that up, knowing how...
I never actually really gave it up.
No, but you've had to put it on the back burner, right?
Well, I moved away as well. So I'm in the Pilbara now. So I moved away from Perth, where the group is centred. So I've still had my finger on the burner, and the first sort of 4 years here, I was still participating in the planning processes around, you know, state government policy, etc., advocating for renewable energy because of the important transition we need to make globally, and trying to act locally and encourage that as much as possible. It was easier to sort of let it go. But immediately comes up sort of, you know, guilt, or, you know, feeling
inadequate,
lazy, or, you know, not doing enough. And so easing that feeling to being, you know, it's actually okay. And my husband's been very good at encouraging me to do less, because he's very single focused, you know. He's got his priorities, which is his family, his work, you know, his exercise, you know, and he's very good at keeping it focused. And so for me, focus, I guess, has been one of my biggest growth areas, and clarity has been my key word. I think it might have been of 2015, you know. You know, clarity. And so then there was the challenge of, what's my thing? What is my thing? What's my purpose? What's my passion? And being encouraged to find out what brings you joy, what makes you sing, what makes you lose your time, you know, spend time doing it. I'm like, oh, gee, well, I don't know, because I do this and I do this and I do this, because I've got this drive, this busyness to do it, and these things naturally are aligned with my values, you know, fairness and equity and sustainability, and ultimately wisdom and love, you know, the wisdom of the earth and our, you know, for mothers and fathers, and looking after the earth and for the future generations. So ultimately it derives from that. But what's my thing? I still don't know if I know. I'm enjoying the fact that I'm delving into yoga and delving into my spirituality, and if I get back up into my headspace, I think I'm going to make an income from being a yoga teacher. But yoga is part of my spirituality, so, and I'm going to make an income from that. They don't kind of go together.
Yeah,
so that's a whole new kind of. I'm just like noticing it and just sort of letting it, you know, be there. Yeah, at the moment. But you know, it's an interesting, you know, next step for me, and also branching out into working for myself. And my own business. I'm not quite working for myself yet, because I'm, you know, working for the the Leisure Centre where I'm providing the yoga classes. But that was just my imperfect action. Rather than waiting until I've got the perfect website and the brand and the design and everything else and the insurance and all these things to be all set up, I was like, okay, well, this is a way I can just get started and take imperfect action and see where it goes to from there. So I think it was the right choice because it's then generated the confidence and the sort of energy to propel me into the new year. Otherwise, I don't know if I would have been ready, and I would have been starting in the new year, and I would have had all of that sort of nervous, cautious, preliminary, imperfect action energy to be starting. So
you've taken the edge off that. You've got the ball rolling.
Yeah.
One thing leads to another, and I think you've done so well to do that, is to just follow what feels good to you, which is the yoga. And as you were talking, that quote came to mind that I posted yesterday about
do what makes you come alive.
Don't ask what the world needs. And I know you are really passionate about that because you know that the world needs sustainable energy. And I suppose it did make you come alive in a sense, but it was also a bit burdensome, wasn't it? It was sort of hard work, and you speak for yourself, but I don't know from talking to you that it gave you that real joy and ease and flow when you're involved in it.
It sort of gave me self-worth. I think that's probably, reflecting on it, that's probably the biggest thing I got from it.
Right.
Very meaningful work, and it was exciting. It was so exciting because before I'd gone overseas, so 1996, I think it was, or 7, when the Howard government first came into power and they started the uranium mining in the Northern Territory in the Kakadu National Park. That just didn't make sense to me because the traditional owners, the custodians of the land for 40,000 years, were saying no, it was a national park. So for environmental and cultural reasons, it was protected by UNESCO World Heritage, and yet mining uranium there, which is one of the most toxic legacy products that can be mined. And so that was the start of my environmental activism. And when I came back to Australia 7 years later and I saw it was still on the go, I learned of this group that was just forming, and they were telling me about renewable energy and the potential for it. And I was like, fantastic, let's do it. That's what we need. And so I got on board, and it sparked the scientist in me, and I really enjoyed learning. So there was the learning, and then the being involved, and the activism, and the contribution, the meaningfulness, the values alignment. It's sort of
so it was a really important part of your journey.
Yeah, it was. It was very significant, but everything has a trade-off. It was also very time-consuming, and that impacted on other areas of my life. And I guess it's just another reason to be thankful, and grateful for the people I have in my life, for supporting me and sticking by me through these times where I've dedicated myself to things which sap from other areas of my life. Now that I'm a parent, it just, there is nothing that can, take my time away more importantly than caring for my children. So, I mean, yes, there's business and work opportunities and entrepreneurialism, and I'm doing yoga training and I'm developing myself, but it all molds around my family now. So that's a lot different to what it was, 10 years ago.
Yeah, and like many of us in our Facebook group, we're trying to juggle business, motherhood, being a wife, running a household, and juggling so many things.
Household. Where's the master's degree in running a household? It's funny. My mum from Northern Scotland, she actually did a class at high school that was about keeping house. I guess it was like home and economics that we had. But that was sort of like a career option, being a housewife.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's made for interesting conversations with my mum about, you know, if you don't care for the children, who cares for them? You have to pay someone still needs to do it, keeping house, etc. You know, is a big job.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I know this morning you were struggling, saying that it was all feeling too hard. And I know that I go through periods like that myself as well. And you and I said we considered cancelling and not doing this discussion. And then we both thought, well, actually, that's what we should be talking about, because we all go through this and we have days where we feel like a complete failure, like we're not doing anything properly. You know, we feel guilty that we're not spending enough time with the kids, or we haven't met their emotional needs properly, or we've forgotten something at school, or then we feel annoyed that we're not moving our business forward as we could or should, or then we feel like we're not connecting with our husbands anymore, or whatever it is. There's just so much stuff coming at us, and then trying to juggle 100 different balls and feeling like we're
so I just felt emotional this morning, and I felt like I wasn't coping, because I'm walking around the house. I've just got the kids off. I've just got Ryder off to school, and I've just got my little one off to bed. So I've got this half an hour window before I need to start transitioning to get ready for the yoga class I was going to teach, that I taught this morning. And I'm like, I guess it's like going, oh, I've got this much to do and I've got this much time, and how am I going to do it all? I'm never going to do it all. The washing's still going to sit there again for another day. I still haven't put the washing away. The basket's just getting full, but I'm not doing more washing until I put the washing away, because there's just too much washing. And it's like, how do I? And then it's like, oh, you come to the kitchen and it's just
dishes everywhere.
Okay, the dishwasher. Okay, what are we going to have? Oh, I've got to do a meal plan and go to the shops and cook dinner for tonight. So I better get these dishes put away so I've got a clean space for when I need to cook dinner after, I go to my Pilates, class or whatever it is I've got this afternoon. It's just, so sometimes I just feel like, oh, where...
Yeah, it's learning to become comfortable with that imperfection. Sorry.
Because, other people who are self-described OCD and are able to keep these perfectly tidy homes, and even can sort of blog about it. And it's like, wow, that's a long stretch for me to get to that point.
Yeah.
But, everyone's got their ways of meeting their own energy and meeting their flow. So their flow is being able to keep everything in order, but there might be other areas that they don't feel like they're flowing, that they've got blockages, or things don't quite fit together in other areas of their lives. So it's all about being kind to myself.
Yeah.
I was giving myself a good old whack with a stick this morning, so that's why I was feeling like I couldn't cope, because I was whacking myself. So, I sometimes think there's a bit of a line between, giving myself a bit of a poke, a bit of a, come on, let's get this done and let's get all this tidied up.
And then criticizing yourself.
Not being too hard on myself and being a bit lazy. So there's that sort of fine line between, how do you keep motivation going?
And what was it, do you think, that allowed you to make the decision for pursuing yoga right now as your main focus? As opposed to all the other things that you'd mentioned this morning. You had another offer to do something, and you've had job offers previously, and you're much more able to say no now. You were saying that's a new skill you've learned since.
Yeah, so I said no to work, which was a big thing for me, because my fear of inadequacy makes me take things on. It's like, I could do that, and I'm also very much an optimist, opportunist, and I can see the big picture, and I can see what could be, and I like putting plans in place to create those things. So I've taken on work before, but then more work came my way, and I was like, No, I don't think I should. One, because I don't think my husband would agree to me taking on more work, because he can see my habits as well. So as much as I don't like hearing it from my husband, he's right on the money quite a lot of the time. So that was one of the ways. But also, going back to the end of last year, we'd agreed that I would be doing some yoga teacher training, but it didn't happen this year because of different family arrangements, and I needed to be more supportive of my husband in his career path, which is changing. It's quite volatile this year. So I was like, oh, that's cool. It's my year to support you, because I've had a lot of support over the years. And I still couldn't quite give it up though. And I also, coming out of giving birth to my second child, and all the sort of anxiety around that, because I get quite anxious being a new mum. I think it's probably postpartum something or other. I've not had a diagnosis or anything, but this feeling of just being at home with the baby, it kind of is, you know, for being a multi-potentialite, it's almost like the complete sort of opposite of, you know, so I'm like, trying to maintain, I guess, that, and it comes back to self-worth again, I think. Trying to maintain that self-worth, as much as I know how important and how precious the relationship with my child is, and how important it is. Anyway, I still went off and did the tourism conference and planned that and delivered that, and that led to more work opportunities, and then another work opportunity came, and I was like, okay. And I took a step back, and I was thinking to myself, I'm just putting my hands to my heart, because it's tuning into myself, you know, saying that, yes, I can do things. Yes, I am worthy. Yes, I am capable, and I can create opportunities in my life. I can. I've proven it to myself time and time and time again. But I don't have to take this opportunity. Just because I can create them doesn't mean I have to take them. And that's the key for me, because I've never felt qualified enough to change lanes or drive my choices. And I think it's quite an empowering feeling to actually say, well, this is what I choose to do.
Yes.
Because I haven't actually been able to choose before.
Yeah.
I felt like I've had to take things that come my way.
Yeah, so that's the major shift that I've detected in you in just the last 6 months or so. Is this sudden realization of your own self-worth. And it's like you're no longer needing to prove that you can take this on and do it well, because you know that you could take it on and do it well, but it would come at the cost of your time with your family and your health. But it's like you no longer need to prove that to yourself or to anyone else, which is a really, like you say, a really empowering place to finally arrive at. To know that I can do anything I apply myself to, and to be and that's a beautiful thing to get to at this stage in life, and to then be able to choose. Choose
that empowering feeling, you know, from my solar plexus area, you know, it really resonates. And then I can almost feel my heart. You know, I can almost feel my heart now. So when we first started talking and coaching through Whispering Coaching, and there were so many tears. I was like, oh, tears, tears, tears. That was because I couldn't really feel my heart.
Yeah, and it was just recently that you actually said that you couldn't feel. You don't know what you feel.
Yeah,
and that's shifted for
listening
you.
to myself, listening to my heart. You know, quite often the answer is like, I don't know. And so to be able to come inside through my spirituality, through my practice, fortunately for me, I've now been able to find a place where I can feel it.
Mm. So how do you personally tune into that feeling? What is it that's allowed you to be able to access that now as opposed to a few months ago?
It's through this conversation, and the topic that we're talking about is obviously speaking some kind of truth. And I haven't really said all of this out loud in one conversation before. Oh. So in terms of conversations that matter, I'm glad this one's being recorded so I can go back and listen to it. Because I mean, I've spoken about bits and pieces of my life before in different ways to different people, but I guess this is my coming of age conversation.
Yeah.
You know, for me to be able to say, this is my story. This is my story, and I've never really told it this way before, and I own it. This is my story, and I'm almost at the point that I could probably cry, but I'm not going to. But I'm not ashamed of it.
Yeah, proud. You should be proud of it.
Probably for the first time.
Oh.
So that's probably the difference.
Yeah.
I'm probably beginning to forgive myself. Probably got a bit of a way to go still.
Yeah, but there is definitely, and this part of you has been calling you for such a long time, this empowered version of you, you know, the full potential of you that you know has been calling you for so long, and it's like you've been reaching out for it but haven't been able to grasp it. And now, like how you've been talking today, is such a shift, and I think it's beautiful that it's like you're channeling your higher self, which is the Amanda that we know is possible, you know.
Well, it's a good thing I taught a yoga class before we had this conversation.
But this is the emerging you. This is the strong Amanda who is proud of what she's been through because it's made her the person she is today. You have so much wisdom and strength and resilience because of your journey and the depths you had to go to be able to know what's important to you and what you want to be and how you want to be of service and what you want to give back and what you want to contribute and all of that. And it's like that's been trying to find its way out through you into the world for so long. And the tears, I think, that we've, you know, have flown are the frustration and the sadness that you can't, it's not flowing through you yet. You didn't know how to, you know, how it could come through you. And it's just so beautiful that you finally know what it's like to stand in that power and to claim it.
And so I still have all kinds of ideas. I think, you know, I still get the like rolling of the eyes and the sort of like distant stare of my husband when I'm like, oh, so blah, 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 this idea, blah, blah, blah. You know, so I still need to be aware of my need to develop a stronger focus. But I'm also glad that I still have inspiration, that I'm still living an inspired life. Because that's what it is.
Yeah.
I've always felt that's to describe my life. I always feel like I live an inspired life.
Yeah.
And that comes from my true self, my true nature. It's and I'm so happy. That's my joy. I've got this joyful part of me, but the whole trying to do this adulting thing and trying to do life has kind of, you know, made it quite challenging to always be in that space. So I just do more because of, I guess, that, you know, perception of success and, you know, what we need to do to, you know, be successful. And so, you know, that's falling away a bit now that I just tune in and, you know.
Yeah, I think what you said, the ability to now tune in to get the mind quiet and rather tune into what is it that your heart actually wants and what do you need and what brings you joy.
Yeah, and like I mentioned on one of the posts, I think, of the abundance challenge, I think, was, you know, letting go of my head to find my heart.
Yes, I loved that.
And that's probably my motto for the year, you know, my you know, write that one across 2017. So,
I found my heart. I lost my head and found my heart.
yeah, I lost my head. Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. Well, we need to wrap up now because I know you've got your babysitter waiting and we've got to get back to our duties and all the rest of it. But thank you for sharing, and it was so nice of you to share so genuinely and and to be so vulnerable and open about your journey. And I hope it will help other people, on their journey, because we can each relate to what we've all been through. So thank you, Amanda, for sharing from the heart.
I'm going to add another piece of paper to my gratitude jar. It's a little bit low for this year, but it'll be like
thank you.
Gratitude, my gratitude jar for this year.
Oh, and I'll be putting one in for you too. So thank you, Amanda, and we'll be in touch very soon.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right.
Bye.
See you then.